Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay. Today we're going to work on this 32 four-door sedan. I've been playing with it here for a little bit, and I really wasn't planning on doing much. I was just kind of tinkering, and somehow nobody called me for anything, no honeydews, so I just kept messing with it. So I thought, well, how about I throw on the camera and I'll get you caught up on kind of what progress I've made since I've been out here. Let's take a peek. Step one when I came out here was to pull a leaf out of the front spring, and I wanted to kind of see if I could get the front of the car down a little bit. And so I pulled the front end apart and pulled the top leaf out, and there's the leaf. Pulled it out, reassembled it, made sure the centering hole in the cross member was clear, and just kind of did a little prep work there to make sure everything was going to go back together again. And slid it all back together, and between making sure that the spring set in the cross member right, removing the spring, losing a little bit of probably tension from that one leaf, it basically lowered the front of the car about an inch. It's amazing how much it changes, how drastic it can change. So then after that, I decided to move forward a little bit. I was doing a little research on what I was going to do for the column, and so what I've decided to do is I built a column for it. I had a few pieces, and really I had everything that I needed to put a column together. So this morning I put this column together. So it's a mast jacket, which is the outer part of the column, out of 53 to 5 F100. So if you follow along, you know there are abundance of those kinds of parts here, so I had saved one just for such an occasion, and it got the call. So I started with it, and then the shaft, I was trying to find a shaft for the center of the column, and I really wasn't having much luck, and I'm sure that they're out there. And so I was kind of rummaging around the parts I'd set aside, and I had set aside a steering shaft out of a 60s Oldsmobile, so a GM, and I had a steering wheel adapter and a bell, this piece right here, to fit this early Ford. So it's a mix of pieces. This piece has to fit the early Ford, the adapter has to fit the GM, and so I save all those pieces, and I rummaged through my leftover pieces, and voila, I ended up with one. So then I took, and it basically gives me about a 32-inch column. I shortened the mast jacket. Sorry for whacking you around there. I shortened the mast jacket there, and ended up with a splined end, which is going to be, we'll get a U-joint for it, and I made it so there's a bearing on the bottom, and there's enough room to put a locking collar on there to hold the mast jacket all together. So I end up not having to buy a column. I think I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use the column drop out of the F100. I'll have to modify it, but I don't mind the way it looks. Kind of sneak around here. That's kind of how it looks. It looks a little bit in shape like the Moon aluminum ones, and they kind of go away in the car, so I think that'll go away once it's all in there and painted and everything. So that is the progress on the steering column. So I'm pretty happy with that, considering I was going to end up buying one, and it wouldn't have been perfect, but it would have got me closer. So then down here, the light's kind of crappy. Sorry, the sun's coming in. Down here, I'll go to a short filter, and that should work fine. It should clear everything. Right up here is where the box is at. The box will come out. I'll probably have to put a pillow block here with a heim joint for that shaft, and then U-joint coming up to here. So pretty straightforward. But I realized at that point, because the body is just setting on it, it's not actually, nothing was bolted on. When I picked up the body, it got transferred to this frame, but nothing's bolted on. So I jacked up the body a little bit, pulled out the firewall, and the firewall is, like most of the stuff I have, is less than perfect. So I took a little closer look at the firewall and started figuring out what I need to do to it. So it has, this firewall I bought quite a long time ago. More than likely this body, that whatever this firewall was on, had sat upside down for a bunch of the time because it's got some rust in the top of the firewall. So I had welded that up a long time ago, and so I've been grinding it for the last hour or two, trying to get it kind of presentable. It's a crusty firewall, but it'll come back. And so that's kind of the progress of fixing the sins on that firewall. It hadn't been it hadn't been modified. I did this to clear, I did this cut to relieve the firewall to clear the Y block. So I got some work down here to do where the feet are rusty, and I've got some work right here to do where the recess is going to happen to get the firewall back away from the motor a little bit. So we've got quite a bit of work, and I've got to do the work to mount the pedals. So I've got the super cool Anson pedals. We're going to get those mounted. That's about, had it mocked up in there. It's about where they need to go. So we're going to start putting stuff together. So I'm going to put the camera aside for a couple minutes, and I'm going to make some noise in here. Let's check out the progress. So on the outside, as the firewall stands up, you can see the master cylinders mounted, bolted down. There is just a little bit of relief work I'll have to do right here around this one rib that's in the firewall on this side. I'll do some work on that, and that's basically where the clutch and master cylinder is going to sit on this car. So it's not going to be under the frame rail, and you can kind of see what's happening here on the back side. On the back side, I've got the All Chicken Fan Club out here checking on progress. Day's getting a little long. They're ready to go into the coop. So on the back side, you see the Anson pedals. Such a cool piece, old chrome on it, and that's kind of what this car is going to be. It's going to be a mix of old chrome from a while back and kind of old approaches to how we're going to do it. So that's where the pedal's going to sit. We will, now that we have that piece mounted and in place, I'll finish mounting that Anson pedal assembly. It's pretty close, and do the reveal on this side, and then it's time to address the kickback in the firewall. So this is about where the firewall needs to be to clear that Y block. So I'll have to make some pieces that go in there. This side isn't quite as far back. We'll have to get it pushed back just a little bit, and then we'll make those pieces to complete the corner there and fill in that gap, and then weld up some of the release cuts. We've got a few holes in the firewall that we'll want to take care of while we're here, and I got to put some feet on this firewall. As I said before, it's a little crusty. So quite a bit of work left in the firewall, but I mean, we made a good chunk today. I'm super happy with the progress between the column and the pedals being mounted. Just a little, another stride, another couple nights, and this firewall will be ready to bolt back into the car and really bolt the body on to it. And once that happens, then I can go ahead and start to measure up steering column brackets and intermediate shafts and things like that. But we gotta get some of this stuff really nailed down first. So this is pretty foundational. All right, well, I don't know if it looks any better, but it's making progress. There it is, up in the air, no firewall. Got my column kind of in place. Got a firewall right there. I'm happy with the progress. I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next project.